Tom Cameron Quaid.
Chet Huntley. David Brent. John Chen.
Tom Brokaw.
Terror in London, the city on high alert. New details show the bombings were closely coordinated.
It was bang, 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 very close together.
The investigation. The NBC News Terrorism Task Force reports on clues, homegrown or international terrorists. The missing. The outpouring of grief and the frantic search for friends and family more than 48 hours after the attacks. And Hurricane Dennis sideswipes the Florida Keys and picks up speed, heading for a direct hit on the Gulf Coast.
This is NBC Nightly News with John Siegenthaler, reporting tonight from London.
Good evening from here in London, where the city is still on high alert. While back in America, all eyes are on Hurricane Dennis with the evacuation of 1 million people along the Gulf Coast. We'll get to that in a moment, but we begin with new developments in the bombing investigation. Security concerns prompted police this evening to clear a major portion of Birmingham, England. This follows new information that the London attack was far more precise than first believed. All the train explosions detonated within just 50 seconds. Teams are continuing the very difficult job of victim recovery as the death toll of 50 is expected to rise. NBC's Keith Miller joins us from the scene of one of the blasts near Russell Square tonight. Good evening, Keith.
Good evening, John. Well, the terrorist threat has moved north tonight to Birmingham. That's England's second largest city. The police ordered an evacuation of the city center while they conducted a controlled explosion aboard a bus. They did not find a bomb. Still, they are ordering people or advising people to stay away.
Come on, stop moving. Come on.
Earlier today in London, a bomb scare at King's Cross forced the evacuation of the station. No device was found, but nervous commuters are reporting anything that appears suspicious. Today, police revealed new evidence indicating the explosions were almost simultaneous.
It appears that the sequence was the explosion at Aldgate, then Edgware, then the Piccadilly Line train. But it was bang, 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 very close together.
As police forensic teams scour all 4 blast sites for clues, recovery teams are making slow progress in reaching all the victims at King's Cross. It's London's deepest subway line, 120 feet below the street. 25 bodies or more are entombed in the wreckage of a passenger car, jammed in a tunnel barely wider than the train itself.
It is extremely hot, extremely hostile environment there. And because of the confined circumstances, the blast and the damage to the train has obviously been considerable.
Outside the station, anxious relatives and friends are searching for information about their loved ones.
It's just horrendous. It's just the not knowing, the looking on the news yesterday and seeing that they're dragging 13 more bodies out of the bus explosion.
At the Police Casualty Bureau, 120,000 calls have been received from people inquiring about the names of the dead or injured. But today, police said the force of the 4 explosions were so destructive, not one body has yet been identified. The mood at the makeshift memorials outside the blast sites seems to reflect that uncertainty, the sorrow, and solidarity.
Just show my support for those who suffered, who died, and who are still suffering. And as a Londoner, to go on. That's it. Sorry.
Police are encouraging Londoners to go about their daily business, saying that all necessary precautions are in place. They're also asking people to be very vigilant and to keep their eyes open. John?
NBC's Keith Miller. Keith, thanks. The NBC News Terrorism Task Force has been digging through the clues to uncover who might be behind this assault and where it might be leading. NBC's Mike Betcher will have a report from Baghdad, but first we get the latest on the international effort from NBC's senior investigative correspondent Lisa Myers, who's with us in London. Lisa?
John, NBC News has found videos on the internet celebrating the carnage in London, saying the British deserved it because of the suffering they've inflicted on Muslims. One video juxtaposes the horrors of Thursday's attacks with pictures of dead and maimed Muslim children and what is portrayed as Western aggression against Islam. Another calls the London bombings revenge for atrocities by the Crusaders in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Palestine.
They had to pay for their aggression. God healed the hearts of the believers.
Investigators struggling to find the culprits tell NBC News the fact that 3 bombs went off almost simultaneously does not mean this was the work of experienced al-Qaeda operatives.
The devices are about 10 pounds each, the experts tell us. Obviously explosives, but nothing at the moment to say they are extremely sophisticated.
British terror analysts say previous bombings in Madrid and Casablanca were more sophisticated operations. A Moroccan-born British militant tied to those 2 bombings, Mohammed al-Garbouzi, surfaced today on Al Jazeera.
I am not a fugitive, nor fleeing from the British authorities. The authorities know my address.
Intelligence sources say British authorities have sought information on Garbouzi, considered leader of a militant Moroccan cell in Britain and a follower of radical cleric Abu Qatada. U.S. intelligence officials say they were told Qatada recently called on Muslims to kill Jews, kill Christians, specifically in buses. Garbouzi used to pray at this London mosque and rented the flat upstairs for meetings. But mosque leaders say they became suspicious of Garbouzi's activities.
Haven't seen him for 8 years, 7 years, since when we kicked him out from here.
Why didn't you want him here?
Well, because he make a trouble.
Tonight, British authorities say they still don't know whether this was pulled off by one man or by a much larger group. In fact, at this point, John, they know very little.
NBC's Lisa Myers here in London. Lisa, thank you. As investigators unravel the London bombings, there's concern that this could signal an explosion of al-Qaeda's activities by attacking allies of the U.S. action in Iraq. NBC's Mike Betcher is following that lead in Baghdad.
An Egyptian diplomat kidnapped in Baghdad this week is videotaped by his captors, then executed. Within days, there are failed attempts to kidnap diplomats from Bahrain and Pakistan, followed by demands from al-Qaeda in Iraq that all envoys from Islamic nations leave Baghdad. A continent away, a series of bombs ripped through London's transit system. Jihadist websites say it's payback for Britain's role in Iraq.
It's clear from bin Laden's statements to Zarqawi that he wants Zarqawi's organization to conduct jihad inside Europe.
This man, Abu Musab al-Zarqawi, the leader of al-Qaeda in Iraq, is at the center of their scrutiny. His group already claimed credit for murdering the Egyptian diplomat, and according to U.S. and Arab intelligence sources, has been pushing his associates to launch attacks against European targets.
Zarqawi began building a network of cells in Europe more than 5 years ago, long before Osama bin Laden named him leader of al-Qaeda in Iraq and urged him to spread the insurgency outside Iraq's borders.
The blueprint for conducting such an offensive was laid out last year in a magazine closely linked to al-Qaeda. Under the headline Targets Inside Cities, the British are listed right behind Americans in a list of priority Christian targets. Egypt received special notice in the next section listing acceptable Muslim targets. Chapter 11 of another insurgent manual recently discovered by U.S. Marines in Iraq clearly lays out al-Qaeda's justification for the use of brutal tactics. If the infidel mutilates the Muslims, it reads, Muslims have the right to mutilate the infidels. Indeed, in both Iraq and London this week, mutilation was everywhere. Mike Betcher, NBC News, Baghdad.
We'll have more on the Muslim community in London and the search for the missing coming up a bit later. And tomorrow on Meet the Press, Tim Russert will talk with Homeland Security Secretary Michael Chertoff, as well as Senators Orrin Hatch and Charles Schumer. While so much of the international focus has been on London, there is a breakthrough tonight in the ongoing nuclear dispute between the U.S. and North Korea. NBC's Rosalind Jordan joins us now with the latest from the White House on that. Good evening, Rosalind.
Good evening, John. Tonight, North Korea says it will return to nuclear disarmament talks in Beijing at the end of this month. Officials close to those talks tell NBC News that may be because the U.S. has made two calculated decisions. One, to tone down the verbal attacks on North Korea, and two, to work closely with the Chinese government. Tonight, it appears those moves have paid off. It's no coincidence. The announcement comes just as Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice arrives in Beijing. Since March, the U.S. has been pressuring and coaching the Chinese on ways to get North Korea back to the bargaining table. South Korea has been wooing the North with promises of food and energy assistance in exchange for disarmament. And late last week, the North Koreans and Americans met quietly in New York to prove they're both negotiating in good faith. But did this breakthrough come at a price for the U.S. government?
The devil is in the details. How much aid do they get? How much dismantling they do of their nuclear weapons program? How much abuse do you take from them? How much abuse do you hand them in response? It goes back and forth.
U.S. officials admit they don't know just how flexible the North Koreans will be once those talks resume, but tonight the White House is calling this development a positive step. John?
NBC's Rosalind Jordan. Rosalind, thanks. Now to the latest on Hurricane Dennis. After ripping through the Caribbean, the storm is bringing heavy rain and high wind to Florida. Dennis is setting its eye on the Gulf Coast, where residents are heading for higher ground. NBC's Martin Savage joins us from Pensacola, Florida tonight. Martin?
Good evening, John. Hurricane Dennis has already claimed 32 lives in the Caribbean. That storm is expected to arrive here tomorrow afternoon. Tonight, Florida feels very much in the crosshairs.
Opened up.
It seems like this year's hurricane season is starting exactly where last year's ended, in Joe Patty's seafood store in Pensacola, Florida. 10 months ago, Hurricane Ivan struck this same area, coming ashore at the Florida-Alabama line, causing 25 deaths and more than $14 billion worth of damage across the country. It took 2 months to get the seafood store open again.
This company represents my grandparents' name, and it's a legacy that is going to continue regardless of Ivan or Dennis or any of them.
But much of Florida is still reeling and dealing with last year's back-to-back storms, straining local emergency budgets and residents' patience to the breaking point.
A lot of people are still got blue tarps on their roofs, and now a storm is coming their way.
Even as the hurricane lashed parts of southern Florida and the Keys with wind gusts of over 70 miles per hour and heavy rains, triggering some minor damage and flooding. Hundreds of miles to the north, residents in the Panhandle were switching from repairing to preparing for the storm. Many heeding evacuation orders that affect more than 1 million people in Dennis's projected path. In Gulf Shores, Alabama, these folks finally returned home just a few months ago. Now they're moving again.
This time we're not taking any chances.
Before threatening the U.S., a much more powerful Dennis, then a Category 4 storm, pummeled the southern coast of Cuba, killing at least 10 people, but mostly sparing Havana. Dennis is expected to regain some of its strength over the warm waters of the Gulf, which is why residents along the shores of Alabama and Florida are in a hurry to board up, get out.
I now pronounce you husband and wife. Brian, you may kiss your bride.
Or in the case of one couple, get down the aisle.
We defeated Dennis!
This is the 4th named storm of the season so far, which is why many Floridians feel like this isn't the start of a new hurricane season, merely the continuation of an old one. John?
NBC's Martin Savage in Pensacola. Martin, thanks. Just where might Dennis make landfall? We go now to meteorologist Bill Cairns with NBC's new 24-hour weather network, Weather Plus, for the latest. Bill, where is the track taking this storm tonight?
Well, John, right now, Dennis is on a collision course with the coastline between Mobile and Pensacola. Now a major hurricane at Category 3 with the winds topping 115 miles per hour. And look what's happened in the last 6 hours. Some rapid strengthening, and now a well-formed eye is visible about 300 miles south of Panama City. The current path sometime around 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Landfall likely somewhere in between Mobile and Pensacola. The worst of the winds will be arriving there sometime around 10 o'clock in the morning, and they won't let up until we get about into late Sunday evening. The next 12 hours are critical. We'll be watching it for you. John?
Bill Cairns of NBC Weather Plus. Bill, thanks. When NBC Nightly News continues this Saturday, NBC News in depth. The fears in London's Muslim community after the bombings, and a tale of two cities in the wake of terrorism.
One of the most advanced assembly plants in America is now open. A $1.1 billion investment designed to deliver the next generation of Hyundais and thousands of new jobs. It's here that everything we know about quality and reliability will find its way into every car we build, beginning with the totally new 2006 Sonata. A Hyundai like you've never seen before.
Arthritis sufferers have had enough bad news lately. Here's some good news. Aleve is the #1 pharmacist-recommended pain reliever for osteoarthritis for the 6th year in a row. Ask your doctor about the good news. Ask your doctor about Aleve.
sun goes down quicker every day. That's why LL Bean made the sturdy Illuminex book pack. Already, it has a following. Look for it and other bright ideas for fall in our new catalog, or shop llbean.com.
We're for puppies. A wet nose, a warm belly, and a wagging tail. And we're for helping them grow up healthy and strong.
You know the 3 little words a guy with ED hates more than any others? It's okay, honey. Even if it is okay with her, I still feel I'm letting her down. Which is exactly why I asked my doctor about Cialis. Cialis is the only erectile dysfunction tablet clinically proven to work up to 36 hours. 36 hours to be ready to respond to her when the moment is right.
Cialis is only for men healthy enough for sexual activity. Do not take Cialis if you take nitrates for chest pain, as this may cause an unsafe drop in blood pressure. Don't drink alcohol in excess with Cialis. Side effects may include headache, upset stomach, delayed backache, or muscle ache. As with any ED tablet, men who experience an erection for more than 4 hours should seek immediate medical attention to avoid long-term injury. Discuss your health status and medications, including alpha blockers, with your doctor, and ask if Cialis is right for you.
My favorite 3 words? The moment's right.
36-hour Cialis. When the moment is right, will you be ready?
NBC News in depth tonight, bracing for the backlash. The bombs that hit London have sent shockwaves through the local Muslim community. But while there is fear, there's also determination to find those responsible wherever that might lead. NBC's Ron Allen tonight in depth.
Outside London's mosque since the bombings, it's not just the Muslim faithful answering the call to prayer. Police stand guard, hoping to prevent trouble.
No religion can accept that what they have done.
Islamic clerics across Britain have condemned the attacks, but as investigators suggest Islamic fanatics are responsible, Muslim communities here brace for a backlash.
This time it's going to be even worse, I think, because although September 11 happened, it was in America, and we still got blamed for it here.
Jah Khan feels deeper frustration because he escaped a train that was bombed. Already some Muslims say they've been assaulted, insulted, stared at with suspicion. Some mosques have been swamped with hate mail, and several possible arson attack investigations are underway. London does have a substantial radical Muslim element that even recruits volunteers for Iraq and Afghanistan. Activists protest British policy in the Arab world. But some 1 million Muslims live in London, 10% of the population. Many are longtime residents who say they hate those who kill in the name of Islam as much as everyone else.
I am a Muslim and I believe in Islam, and Islam is a religion of peace.
During this tense time, many Muslim leaders are urging their community to seize the moment and step forward if they have any information that will help police find the bombers. Leaders like Abdullah Falik recognize police must investigate aggressively.
We will support that, but it needs to be done in a sensitive way. It shouldn't be done in a way where basically Muslims are unnecessarily targeted.
2 of the subway attacks happened in Muslim neighborhoods, like Aldgate Station, where Shahara Akhtar Islam, 20, left home Thursday at 8:30 to catch her train to work.
I have no words to say. I just hope she will turn home.
The Islams, like all of London, want those responsible for this horror caught, no matter their religion, color, or creed. Ron Allen, NBC News, London.
When we return, it's back to the future for NASA as the Space Shuttle Discovery is ready for a flight back to space.
Hello.
Fix it in control for the control you want, just where you need it. Life with more bite. Fix it in control. Its precision tip nozzle lets you put just the right amount, just where you want it. So no more corn without the cob. Fix it in control. Life with more bite.
Eyes match your PJs. There's a Visine for that. Tears of joy?
No, Dad, eye allergies.
Sad about eye allergies? There's a Visine for that.
Beautiful. Move it, shake it,
Eye eyes dried out? There's a new Visine for that. For over 40 years, Visine has been the eye expert. So no matter what your eye irritation, red, itch, dry, or even contacts, there's a Visine for that.
Want to know a secret? Some grown-ups don't eat their vegetables. That's why there's Delicious Ensure. Complete balanced nutrition, vitamins, minerals, food energy. If you don't eat right, eat smart. Ensure nutrition for a healthier you.
Want to stick it to grime? Scrubbing Bubbles foam stays where you spray.
Just a little bit longer.
Unlike trigger sprays, Scrubbing Bubbles clings to the surface. Its thick antibacterial foam concentrates on grime while it disinfects. Plus, it expands into tight spots you want clean. Scrubbing Bubbles foam. We work hard, so you don't have to. SC Johnson, a family company.
I'm proud to be part of the number.
I'm proud to be part of the #1 car company on the planet.
I'm proud we make hydrogen vehicles.
Like our test fleet in Washington, D.C.
That produce nothing but water. We're so proud.
We want to share something we've never shared before.
For the first time in history, everyone in America
gets the GM employee discount.
You pay what we pay.
Not a cent more.
But only until August 1st.
The GM employee discount.
For everyone.
At Cape Canaveral tonight, NASA is keeping a close eye on the weather as it continues preparation for the shuttle's return to space. Officials are hoping it will be all systems go this week for the first flight since the Columbia disaster. NBC's Tom Costello is at the Kennedy Space Center.
John, good evening. It looks like Hurricane Dennis will come nowhere near the Kennedy Space Center. And in fact, a short time ago, the crew of Discovery arrived. Their launch, set for Wednesday, it looks like, is very much still on. With the shuttle Discovery on the pad, the first countdown in 2.5 years is set to begin tomorrow evening.
It's safer, I believe, than any mission we've flown in the past, and we're at a point in time where we're ready to go.
Since the Columbia disaster killed 7 astronauts, the shuttle's been completely overhauled. The external fuel tank also redesigned with heaters added to ensure the insulation doesn't freeze and break off, ripping a hole in the shuttle's wing edge. And sensors added to detect any debris strikes on liftoff. Then, once in space, astronauts will use new cameras and lasers on the shuttle's boom to inspect the wings and tiles for any signs of damage.
We definitely do not want to cause the damage that we're hopefully going to inspect for and hopefully not see.
Waiting for Discovery, the crew of the International Space Station.
I am fully confident that we've done what it takes to get this shuttle up here. And I'm very anxious to see them come up here because we've had our assembly sequence for this space station on hold for about 2.5 years.
But before they dock, the shuttle will perform a new flip just 600 feet from the space station so the station crew can photograph Discovery's underside and send those photographs to Mission Control for analysis. Then, once docked, more inspections, cargo transfers, and spacewalks to test repair techniques in the event they ever do have to repair the shuttle's skin in space. But with no proven way to effect a repair, significant damage to Discovery would mean this crew would have to abandon ship and await rescue on the space station. Again, the launch is slated for Wednesday, 3:51 p.m. They want to launch in daylight because they want to photograph Discovery from every possible angle, the ground and also from the air, an airplane circling overhead, more than 100 cameras. They say this will be the most photographed launch in history, John.
NBC's Tom Costello. Tom, thanks. And when Nightly News returns this Saturday from London, the city's hunt for the missing and the haunting memories of 9/11.
Johnson, Smith here tells me he's now fired you 15 times. Yet every day, here you are. So why don't you leave?
Kellogg's Raisin Bran Crunch with honey granola clusters, crunchy flakes, and tasty raisins.
I understand you. You don't take no for an answer, do you? Smith, be more like Johnson.
Kellogg's Raisin Bran Crunch. Sounds good.
Arthritis sufferers have had enough bad news lately. Here's some good news. Aleve is the #1 pharmacist recommended pain reliever for osteoarthritis for the 6th year in a row. Ask your doctor about the good news. Ask your doctor about Aleve.
When Publishers Clearinghouse arrives,
Congratulations. Are you sure?
dreams come true.
Oh, Lord, this is true.
Watch your mail or go to PCH.com.
Only in America you can do this.
Enter, and August 31st, the $1 million winner could be you.
We're for puppies. A wet nose, a warm belly, and a wagging tail. And we're for helping them grow up healthy and strong.
Once, a great night's sleep was easy to catch, but now it seems so fleeting. Your restless mind keeps chasing sleep away.
I've got to pay those bills. Did I call the electrician? Why did I promise I'd go tomorrow?
Introducing Lunesta, a sleep aid that can give you and your restless mind the sleep you need. Lunesta helps most people sleep all through the night and works quickly, so take it right before bed. And Lunesta is non-narcotic and the only prescription sleep aid approved for long-term use. Of course, do not use sleep medicines for extended periods without first talking to your doctor. Be sure you have at least 8 hours to devote to sleep before becoming active. Until you know how you'll react to Lunesta, you should not drive or operate machinery. Avoid taking Lunesta with alcohol. All sleep medicines carry some risk of dependency. Side effects may include unpleasant taste, headache, drowsiness, and dizziness. Ready to catch a great night's sleep? Just climb into bed and leave the rest to Lunesta.
When you see a big news story, grab your camera or video phone and start shooting. Then send your images to pics@msnbc.com.
The epidemic of prescription drug abuse, NBC Nightly News, Monday.
For many, the events of the past few days have prompted flashbacks to 9/11. It is especially true when it comes to the search for the missing here in London. At least 25 people here simply disappeared the day after the bombs exploded without a trace. Their loved ones refused to give up. They come here to a train station in London called King's Cross, where a terrorist bomb killed at least 21 people. Since that terrible day, this station has become a makeshift memorial with flowers and cards, where Londoners pay their respects. Just a few feet away, these posters are taped to the wall and to the light poles. Flyers are being handed out with the faces we can't forget.
Just want to know something. It's better to know than not to know at the moment.
More than 2 days after the bombing, family and friends still believe there's a chance that the missing will be found alive.
We tried every single hospital, we just don't know any more information about him.
They tell their stories to anyone who will listen.
She's a very bright, bubbly person. She has loads and loads of friends, an infectious laugh, and she loves life.
London's newspapers are full of photographs of those who can't be found, right next to the grim pictures of the brother who can't find his sister, the woman searching for her roommate, the man who can't figure out what happened to his wife. A heartbreaking reminder of another time and place. In New York, after 9/11, there were also makeshift memorials, flowers, and those haunting posters and photographs of the missing. There were also friends and family who told anyone who would listen about their loved ones.
We haven't heard anything, but we're just hoping and praying that, he got out.
While the attacks in the U.S. and Britain, 4 years apart, are different in many ways, they are also the same. 9/11 remains a dark day in American history. Now 7/7 is etched in Britain's memory, dates they will never forget. That's NBC Nightly News for this Saturday. Thanks for watching. I'm John Siegenthaler reporting tonight from London. And for all of us at NBC News, good night.